research interests are in the field of teaching and learning and include the relationship between pedagogy and the digital humanities. In terms of themes, she's particularly interested in language teaching methodologies, curriculum design, questions of accessibility and diversity, and language teaching through literature. The title of Laura's presentation is Begin at the Beginning. Very wise, I must say. Begin at the beginning, teaching and learning beginners Italian in a blended environment. The screen is all yours, Laura.
Sorry?
The screen is all yours.
Okay, thank you very much for introducing me. So this new presentation was very interesting because it starts from the premises from which my paper, me and Maria paper developed. Maria unfortunately cannot be here today, but we collaborated together to these first year ab initio Italian beginners module in 2020-2021 during this academic year. And our presentation is based on the practicalities of these specific module. So when transitioning to a blended learning environment during this academic year, we had to face several challenges. So at the beginning of the academic year, we had prepared for a vaguely defined blended learning mode. But in a matter of week, a full national lockdown meant that all synchronous provision was moved fully online. And so in this paper, as we discuss the issues that we face, these range from how to integrate effective synchronous and asynchronous materials, and also how to promote self-expression and especially the development of oral skills that at beginner level is particularly difficult in the online classroom. And also we were faced with a question on how to meet the intended learning outcome of exposing beginners to culturally relevant content and topics, and how to best support and guide responsible online self-study while promoting self-reflection, motivation, and learning empowerment. So in this paper, we look at how the careful scaffolding of resources and material, the emphasis on social presence and community building, and also some of specific activities that we created for oral practices and intercultural competencies all proved to be crucial in the successful delivery of the module. So we want, for example, focus on assessment here because unfortunately we don't have time, but that's another very interesting topic. So starting with the idea that inspired our initial redesign of the beginner's Italian module, we definitely refer to blended learning. And here I'm quoting Anna King when she says blended learning is an approach which takes into account different learning styles and combines different learning environments in a flexible, integrated and complementary way in order to help support and enhance learners' diverse needs and provide a successful, efficient and enjoyable learning experience. And also the idea that if blended learning is properly conceived, developed and delivered, so all these passages are very important, these methodologies can support any number of learners anywhere and at any time. So indeed, this view inspired us when the pandemic had already hit, and we moved in November 2020 when UK enters the second COVID lockdown to a fully online experience for teaching. So at this point, the decision was taken at a departmental level to continue to provide timetable synchronous sessions and to integrate them with asynchronous tasks and material for self-study. So the first challenge we had to face was how to guide new students whom we had barely met through the course. So for example, I was in charge of face-to-face sessions, and I only met these beginner students probably 3 times during the academic year, met them in person. So how to guide them through the course and how to share with them the pedagogical rationale underpinning the course design and organization. In this way, we decided to follow the advice of scaffolding to organize, for example, our virtual learning environment course site that for University of Leicester is Blackboard, so that learners could navigate it effortlessly and experience it as their own flexible, adaptable, and stimulating space for self-study and self-reflection. In doing this, within the design, we apply the feature listed by Leo van Leer about scaffolding in language learning to the actual design of the Blackboard site. And these features are, as you can see, continuity, contextual support, intersubjectivity, contingency, handover, and flow. Following these features, weekly material then were organized in Blackboard language models with identical format for each week, following the principle of contextual support. So this is an example of one class for our course. So mainly we adopt a flipped or inverted classroom approach in order to promote inclusivity and autonomy, and to reserve online synchronous time to more complex group tasks, and especially to practice. So follow expert advice to simplify sources, and in this way, one idea was to clearly label the section of the module in before class, in class, and after class. This simple yet effective intuition was very praised by students and student representatives in both student surveys and staff-student committees, and allowed us to gain the group trust and engagement in the way that we proceed strategically, maintaining this organization throughout the weeks. So tasks were often repeated, following the principle of continuity, and information also, you can see here, on how long should be spent on each task was spelled out to reinforce the idea of moving within a reassuringly familiar and clearly signposted learning environment to be browsed independently by the students. Okay, so in this case also this is week 4, so you can see that the indication is still written in English, and moving, also progressing in that, and the use of Italian in the instruction later on during the modules or maybe second term. Furthermore, with reference to writing, for example, a weekly discussion board was usually proposed, where students would post short texts on different topics, using a set of grammar points and lexes that were addressed during the week. And students were required to engage with others, posts from other students. And most importantly, tutors also posted answers, model answers, with real information about themselves. This is an example of Maria talking what she likes to do during the week. This worked to model potential achievement, and also by regularly posting model answer with information about themselves, tutors contribute significantly to the enhancement of social presence and to the creation of an atmosphere of connectedness. So moving to a specific discussion around oral practice and intercultural communication, one of the intended learning outcome for this module is that of to be able to express oneself accurately in spoken Italian on the topic studies during the semester, and to be able to engage in conversation with others about topics using relevant grammar structures and vocabulary in accordance with the language level. So providing opportunities for constructive and culturally relevant speaking practice online was indeed the biggest hurdle we face throughout this year. Throughout the academic year, we encourage speaking practice in asynchronous independent work, for example, asking the students to prepare short audio tasks or to be posted on Blackboard. And these tasks were ranging from open-ended descriptions to short dialogues created in pairs. But also we work, of course, on the oral part in class, primarily in breakout rooms features, and using also the chat features of Microsoft Teams platform, which is the platform in use at University of Leicester, asking students to post relevant picture in the chat, or indeed a short answer as a prompt on which to build a spoken response. In designing these activities, we combine the module language objectives with aims in intercultural education to emphasize the educational purposes of the language practice. So drawing from curriculum development theory, combining language education and intercultural education, we designed a module that could support the development of students as social agents, so individuals that are able to use the language in processes of discovery of the self and a foreign culture, and also to be able to critically engage with the language-culture nexus to master communication with the aim of creating relationship. So in this sense, we try to develop and design activities that could promote opportunities to interact appropriately and effectively with those from other cultural backgrounds. For instance, one of these initiatives was Ospiti in class guest. This was possible thanks to the accessibility of video conferencing platforms, and that allowed us to have surprise and plan guest speakers throughout the year who join us from Italy or from other parts of the world to engage with students in presentations and Q&A sessions. When deciding the guest speakers and the topics, we aimed for inclusivity and diversity in language representations and experiences, covering a variety of topics on different aspects of life in Italy or opportunities coming from speaking Italian abroad. Here you have the example of the acrobatic duo Chassonel, in which, for example, Sonia is Italian, living right now in France, and Ismael, her partner, is Spanish, but he learned how to speak Italian, so the diversity also of the representation of the language and also of language learning. So in this case, technology helps to bring the word inside the virtual classroom and acted as a catalyst for authentic and meaningful exchange in the target language. In this way, digital tools clearly facilitated oral practice and promoted real-life use of the target language with intention to break not only language but also cultural barriers, boosting students' understanding of culture as necessarily intertwined with the language learning process. And now I move to the last section of this presentation, where I'm going to look a bit more around like the teaching presence and community building in the blended learning environment. So existing literature indicates that teaching presence is clearly associated with student perception of learning, satisfaction, and connectedness. The visibility of the teacher in the online learning environment is generally measured in terms of design, organization, facilitation, and data extraction. In addition, sharing clear communication guidelines can support learners' development of their own social presence, which corresponds to a higher degree of peer-to-peer interaction and student-teacher interaction, ultimately promoting a sense of community and belonging. So in the building of our blended beginners Italian course, we very much identified as both actors and constructors. We have already briefly illustrated the design and organization of the course, and indeed the scaffolding of good and accurate material resulted in a clear, efficient, and accessible structure. The choice of topics, for example, topics linked to issues of citizenship and sustainable development, also reflected well the tutor's personality, and teaching style. So the effective use of digital tools in the classroom was essential to promote a positive communicative environment, which also favored community building. This was especially significant for our beginners course, first because we didn't meet in person very much, and also because despite being digital natives, students were using these tools in an academic context for the first time. So as the development of digital communities can be challenging but not impossible, we recognize that success relies on the knowledge and awareness of medium and tools that are employed, and a negotiation of norms between the instructors and the learners at the forming stage, involving the initiation of and the participation in discussions about goals, liability, and communication style. So student social presence also in the online classroom is demonstrated by the use of a personal form of address, acknowledgement of other, expression of feeling, humor, and also the use of textual paralanguage symbols such as emoji and capitalization. And in this sense, during class time, we especially encourage the constructive use of the chat function in the class, with exchanges focusing both on the content as well as personal communication. So we agree that instructors and learners share the responsibility to make community happen. And student feedback on this module was very encouraging, with 66% agreeing that they felt part of a community of staff and students. And these indicators confirm our positive experience of the course from our instructor view. So to conclude, despite all the challenging personal and challenges of the community that the pandemic posed, the global health crisis has also provided an unforeseen opportunity for creative redesign and lateral thinking. The role of students as co-creators of knowledge and the importance of community building and social presence have gained central stage. And we ask, therefore, for fundamental changes in both online and face-to-face delivery that should become practices of a new normal in language teaching and learning, also recognized by the institutions. Thank you.
Benissimo. Grazie Laura.